welcome to our Ohio State versus Rutgers preview here on the OHIO podcast. It's great to have all of you with us. We hope you enjoy the knowledge we're about to drop because we're going to preview this game like no one else, statistically, historically, and with a special interview from a Rutgers podcaster, a part of the College Huddle, which you can see just above Chris's head. 87 podcasts from coast to coast covering their favorite schools, their favorite teams, and we happen to be the Ohio State podcast in the College Huddle, and we're proud of that. Chris, 10-0, number one in the country still. In comes Rutgers. Last home
Not
games.
exactly something to fear.
No, it's not. And given what I found out from Larry K, even they aren't really even excited about this game. They know that this is just, I mean, it feels like a game that we have to play because it's on the schedule for both teams. But both teams are really looking ahead for next week. Rutgers feels like they can go 6-6 and they can win a bowl and go to a bowl game again by beating Penn State at home. Obviously, we want revenge against the team up north. We're all looking ahead, which is scary a little bit. But when both teams are looking ahead, is it really?
Well, it is hard to be excited for this game, but at the same time, you're right. Both teams looking ahead. Uh, it's dangerous for both. It really is. Rutgers doesn't have a very good chance to win this game as it is, but that slim margin gets drastically smaller if they're thinking ahead. Ohio State cannot allow their obsession with winning that game next week or the following week to get in the way of this week. So I don't think it's something that's necessarily. I'm not worried about Ryan Day letting this game get past Ohio State. I would be more concerned if I'm Greg Schiano about it happening with Rutgers.
Now, we're not privy to all the information that you all are. While by the time you watch this video, we're recording this several days in advance because of scheduling issues and things. And so we don't have the injury report. We haven't heard from the coaching staff and things like that. But I don't even know how much we can even glean from that, to be honest with you, Chris, because I mean, we've heard they're going to be incredibly vague in the press conferences. I guess if you hear from the media that you see players actually practicing or were in practice gear coming off the field at the end of practice on, say, Thursday or on Wednesday night, then maybe you can feel a little better about the situation. But obviously, all eyes are on Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith going into this game. We left last night's roundtable show kind of with the consensus from those on the panel that we don't even need them to win this game,
No.
given how bad Rutgers is at stopping the run and how well we looked against UCLA running the football. I tend to agree, but there's some danger of holding those guys back going into the big game without getting any time of play a week, before. What do
I
you think Ryan Day does here?
I don't worry too much about Jeremiah Smith because he's been very active. Uh, he hasn't missed a game since he started his career at Ohio State, Eric. I'm not worried about Jeremiah Smith. Carnell Tate, having already been out 2 consecutive weeks, if he sits out Rutgers, that does cause a little concern. But at the same time, I'm ultimately confident in his ability as well as the ability of everybody else in that receiver room to step up if need be. So I'm not really overly concerned. And I say, hey, you know what? Let these guys get the rest now. This is just look at it like a third bye week. This is just like the SEC playing their FCS schools this week versus or the week before their rival games.
Not
Just look at it
quite.
like a third bye week.
Not quite. Rutgers has got some people.
They
Um,
do. They do. And Greg Schiano's the type of guy who's going to throw the kitchen sink at you.
well, and that's something I bring up with Larry as well is the tendency for Greg Schiano to frustrate Ryan Day with some extracurricular special trick plays and special team trick plays and things that aren't necessarily like fun for Ohio State to have to try to
Things that get
defend.
Ryan Day out of character and make him like attack a friend, you know?
Yeah, it's wild. But all that being said, Chris, this game doesn't have nearly the amount of juice that next week's will, obviously, but it's still necessary, and that's the thing is you have to go out there, take care of business, and I guess the game within the game is let's see how Julian Sane can pad some stats.
Yeah, and I think more importantly though, Eric, it's can Julian Sand develop chemistry with these second string receivers?
And no one's talking about this yet. Statistically, Rutgers is one of the better offenses we've seen this year. They suck defensively,
Yeah.
but offensively, they're pretty good, and they have found their running back, one of the better running backs in the Big Ten so far in the last 6 weeks or so, and that'll be
Already a thousand
interesting.
yard rusher on the season.
hmm That'll be very interesting for this team to look at. And to try to scheme against and plan against, and Alec Manis can obviously hurt you if you're going to just concentrate on stopping the run the whole game. So I think defensively this ought to be an interesting game for Ohio State to look at as well, um, a week out from the game. All right, that being said, Chris, let's go ahead and dive into a little bit about this game, shall we? It's another big noon kickoff on Fox. How exciting
Surprise.
is that? You get Joel Klatt and Gus Johnson, or you could get Corey, Chris, myself over on Patreon. We're much better, much more entertaining, much funnier, and better Buckeye fans. So if you want to watch the game with us, you can do so over at Patreon. Links below. Come check it out. Um, Otherwise, you're gonna have to put up with Joe Klatt and Gus Johnson on Fox at 12 p.m. Chris, let's look at this game by the numbers real fast.
Okay.
Ohio State versus Rutgers. Ohio State leads the series 10 games to 0. They've won all 10 that they've played. Last meeting in Columbus was 2022. That was a 49-10 win. Last meeting in Piscataway 2 years ago was a 35-16 win. Largest margin of victory came in 2016. It was Urban Meyer and Ash, if I'm not mistaken, were the coaches then.
Yes.
58 to nothing, just dismantling. This current 10-game win streak started in 2014. That was the first time Ohio State and Rutgers played one another when Rutgers joined the Big Ten, and it continues on to this day. Ryan Day's record during that time period, well, he's tied with Urban Meyer. They're both 5-0 against Rutgers in their time at Ohio State. While Greg Schiano, since he returned to Rutgers, his record against Ohio State, where he was defensive coordinator for several years under both Urban Meyer and Ryan Day, he is now 0-4. Looking at those 10 games that we mentioned there, Chris, starting back in 2014, Ohio State, look at those look at the first, I guess you could say, 9 out of those 10 games. They scored 49 points or more every time they played Rutgers and only gave up 27 in 2020 in the COVID year. All the other times it was 21 or less, even less than that for 8 of them, 17, 16, 10, 13, 3, 0, 0. Look at that span from 2016 to 2018. Rutgers never scored a touchdown in those 3 years against Ohio State. This has been pure, utter dominance. And really the closest game was 2 years ago in Piscataway, 35-16. Chris, what can you glean from those numbers taking a quick look at them?
Rutgers is in trouble. It's
Pain.
that simple. They are severely outmanned. They're outcoached. They're outplayed. Every single year they play against the Buckeyes. And I don't see anything that would indicate this year's any different. Uh, some teams have horses. Ohio State has thoroughbreds, about 100 of them. And these guys just don't have what it takes to keep up. So while I do think that Shiano's doing a decent job at Rutgers, I think he's the right coach for that program. They're just not they're not to par to be playing with Ohio State.
No, they're not, and it's. I, can I be honest? I like the story of Greg
Yes,
Schiano going back to Rutgers.
I do as well.
I love the story, and I love the passion he's created for that school, that program, and that fan base for them by his return. That being said, I think he's in year number, what is the 6 for him,
Yes.
and the first 3 years were tough getting them back on their feet, but he did, and now he's gotten them back to 2 straight bowl games, and he's looking to try to get them back to a third straight, which would be a monumental feat at Rutgers
Yes.
in the Big Ten. This is not Rutgers in the Big East. This is Rutgers in the Big Ten. It's not going to happen this week, I don't think. At least I don't
No.
hope so. But I'm kind of pulling for him to beat Penn State in Week 12, man. I'm
Oh,
not going to lie.
absolutely. And I'd be doing that even if my boss wasn't a Penn State fan. I'd love to see them get an opportunity to go to another bowl game, Eric. I personally like Greg Schiano. I like what he brings to the table as a coach. I like his just his approach to the game. And yes, there's a little part of me that likes that he's probably the only person in history who's ever really pissed off Ryan Day. I mean, we got a great shirt out of it at one point. So,
That's right.
uh, to me, I do. I like what Greg Schiano brings to the table. And I really hope he does well at Rutgers as long as they're not playing Ohio State. And I would really love to see him get another bowl game.
Yeah, 100% with that, man. All right, Chris. That being said, it's time to look at this thing, the tail of the tape here, and
It's not
buddy,
pretty, Eric.
buddy, this is ugly. Just lay it on us.
Well, let me tell you, if any of you have been on social media lately, the Suck East Conference teams, they are all about criticizing Ohio State's strength of schedule. Right here is why. If you look at this the tail of the tape shows us a dominant Ohio State team here, outscoring offensively this Scarlet Knight team 37.5 to 29.9. Yards rushing yards per game, Ohio State's better there, 168.8 to 143.1. You go to the passing game, slight edge, but still edge to Ohio State by a couple of yards, 279.5 to basically 277.5. You look at total yards per game, close. It is close. 441.3 to 420.5. Here's where you start to see some differences. Third down efficiency. Rutgers, a very respectable 42.7%. Ohio State converting over 56% of the time. Then you look at the red zone conversion rate. 77.6 for Rutgers to 90.6% for Ohio State. If you let Ohio State in the red zone, points are going on the board 9 out of every 10 times. Defensively, wow. You want to talk about dominance? Ohio State allowing only 7.5 points a game. Rutgers is giving up 30. Rush yards per game. Ohio State allowing only 81.4. Rutgers giving up 196.5. Pass yards per game. Now, this is something to watch because this is a stat where Ohio State could be challenged. But they're only giving up 131.2 passing yards per game. Rutgers is giving up nearly 100 more at 229. Total yards per game. Ohio State giving up 212.6. Rutgers giving up more than 200 yards more at 425.5. The third down conversion rate allowed. Ohio State is only allowing opponents to convert 27.6% of the time. Rutgers is 42%. That's not good. That is not good for them. And Eric, one where it seems we have a incorrect arrow on the
Era.
slide.
Yeah, the good
Rutgers
call.
does have a slight edge in the turnover battle at one turnover per game to Ohio State's 0.9 per game.
It's basically tied.
But it's basically tied for all intents and purposes. This is a lopsided matchup. Your thoughts?
Yeah.
Are you trying to think of a nice way to put it so the Scarlet Knight fans aren't hurt too bad?
No, I look at these stats and I do see where I feel like our defense could possibly be challenged a little more than what we have been in the past this season. I think Rutgers offensively is going to be able to maybe move the ball on us a little bit.
I,
I Can I be honest with you?
yes, please.
I am worried that this is going to be an ugly game and Buckeye Nation is going to panic the week before the game because they're
Because
going
that's
to
what we
see
do.
Rutgers move the ball against us. They're going to see Rutgers actually score against us. And what I don't think they realize is just how good Rutgers offensively might be compared to Michigan.
Oh, a huge difference.
Now, if we don't move the ball against them, if we struggle offensively against Rutgers, that's a huge red flag because they stink defensively.
Oh yeah, they're terrible. And
Like we should jump out on this team and really kind of have them put away as long as our defense is remains to be the defense that we've gotten used to. But last couple weeks they've given up what 10 points to Purdue and 10 points to UCLA. Now I understand some of that was trash time, but Rutgers is much better than UCLA and Purdue offensively.
well, they're a top 20 passing offense. Uh, and that's where I think we get challenged. I don't think we get challenges in the run game. I
I
really
actually
don't.
do. I think they challenge us because that running back is really good. He's really last few weeks is really coming to his own.
But who have they played, Eric?
Well, I mean, we can't use that SEC argument both ways now.
No, no. What I'm saying is, who have they played as far as defensively that has a defense anywhere near Ohio State?
Well, they've lost a lot of what we would call mid-tier Big Ten teams. They've lost a lot of those games.
Yes,
Minnesota, Iowa, uh, Washington. They played Washington on the road really well. Had them on the
they did.
ropes. Had them on the ropes.
But again, Washington is not a good defensive team, though.
They're not, but they're a pretty good offensive team.
They are.
Um, no, you make a solid point. I just if I were to say something on the lines of Ohio State wins this thing like 34-17, I think people will panic. The spread is very deceptive to me. I feel like if we win this thing by more than 33 and a half, which is what I think the spread is as of Monday night while
It
we're
is
recording this, I'll be shocked. Now we've hit the over. What is it? 8 out of 10
8 out of 10
times.
times. Only OU and uh, was it last week?
No, we
I
we
mean,
we
we didn't cover versus Purdue.
okay.
And we,
33 and a half to me is you saying defensively we hold Rutgers well under their yearly average, which is almost 30 points a game, which I think we can and I think we will.
I think we hold them to about half that.
Okay, so
About
14,
about
15,
14.
13. Yeah, I'm somewhere in the ballpark of like I said 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, somewhere in the teens.
Yeah,
And
I think it's fair.
if we score and I just don't think Ryan Day is going to put the gas to the pedal to the metal in this game in the second half. I think he's going to get his starters out, make sure everybody's healthy for Ann Arbor, and it's going to be backup time, and it's going to look like an ugly score at the end of the game, not your typical Ohio State throttles Rutgers score. And I think
And I
people are
don't have a
and I think
problem
people
with
are going to
that.
panic all week long next week.
If he's doing that for the right reason, I have no problem with it. If he's doing it because he's out there letting his second, third team actually get game snaps and run the offense and run the defense and doing it the way they should be so they're getting good, meaningful game snaps, I got no problem with a closer game.
All right. Let's bring on Larry K from the Night Watch. Great interview with him. He's one of my favorite people to interview and talk to. You're all going to love this interview. And then after that, Chris and I will be back to give you our final thoughts and predictions. All right. I am joined by my man, Larry K from the Night Watch, our college huddle sister podcast here from Rutgers. Larry, my man, good to see you, brother.
What's up, brother? Great to see you too. As you can see, I'm flying around, going nuts, but always will make time for Buckeye Boggs. Always the any Big Ten matchup, college huddle, RU sports. So here I am, brother.
Yeah, dude, let's dive into it, man. So, game number 11, Rutgers is 5-5 on the year. I remember doing the preview all the way back in July, Larry. We said, hey, if you guys could get to 6 wins before these last two games, that's kind of the plan. You got the five, but we didn't foresee Penn State being like this, brother. I mean, there's a very real chance you guys go bowling.
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of the talk in the Rutgers sphere, or at least some of it, I do another show with Steve Tishner, which is the RU Review every week, and he's saying, "Look, I mean, we're still on target for our 6-6 prediction." And I said, "Yeah, but there's a big caveat there. The caveat is that we didn't know Penn State was going to be down and out as bad as it was, and we needed to get to six before this. So, been a rocky road for Rutgers in a few respects. Nonetheless, the dream of a 500 season in a bowl game still remains, and." Knowing how daunting the schedule looked coming into the season, knowing some of Rutgers' internal issues, I guess we're kind of on target as of right now for potentially another shot at a win, although that's going to be a tall task.
So let's talk a little bit about how we got here. You won those three preseason games, non-conference games. You've beaten the two teams in the Big Ten who you obviously are better than, Maryland and Purdue, and we kind of expected that, to be honest. You've been in a lot of other games though, and you've played well. And I feel like, and tell me if I'm wrong, I feel like the problem with this team is not the offense. Like there's plenty of offense there.
Yeah, well, what I would say is going into the season, everybody knew the defense was going to be a problem, but the thought was that the offense was going to be so potent, so efficient that Ethan Kaliakmanis would play at an elite senior level, that the skill positions, including running backs and wide receivers, would be so good that they could, or at least in some games, they would make up for what the defense was lacking. What we've seen is I agree with you. The out of conference schedule, we win, go 3-0. The games that we are obviously better than, especially Maryland, at home for us, we win. But the toss up games, or the games that you think we might have a shot, but maybe a little bit undermanned, we've lost every one of them. And I think part of the problem was the offense, the defense was terrible in some of those games, especially the second half, the third quarter. However, in certain games, the defense did give Rutgers a chance early, especially against Washington on the road. Made a couple plays, got a couple stops, produced a few turnovers, but that elite offense had really struggled to get the ball into the end zone. And specifically, there are a lot of red zone struggles this year with the offense. Now, against Maryland, that changed a little bit. The offense got a little more efficient, and you saw what happened. But I think there's plenty of blame to kind of go around the receivers when we've relied on them, KJ Duff and Ian Strong and DT Sheffield, and now you're seeing Antoine Raymond kind of becoming the new Kyle Monangai. We are our running back you. They've done well when we've won games, and they've tried their best when we kind of came up short. But I think the whole story is defense really has a lot to be desired, but the offense hasn't quite risen to the occasion throughout the season, and that might be the most disappointing thing about the season so far.
Yeah, you brought up the running back, Antoine Raymond. He's already got 1,000 yards. His stats are pretty easy to manage. 200 carries, 1,000 yards. That's 5 yards per carry. Pretty easy math there. 11 touchdowns on the ground as well. He's added 15 catches for 163 yards and a score through the air. You brought up Kyle Monangai. Tell me about this Antoine Raymond and why Ohio State fans should know about him.
So Antoine Raymond, a kid from another Canada kid, Rutgers has done pretty well going across the northern border there and recruiting some talent. Um, Really, there's been a lot of discussion about how he learned from Kyle, the coach there. And the name is slipping my brain right now in my odd disheveled state. But great running back coach at Rutgers right now. The offensive line, they deserve some credit too. The interior of that line returned a lot of guys. The outside, we've seen some injuries. We obviously had Holland Pierce go join the Philadelphia Eagles practice squad. And so there was some loss on the outside of that offensive line. But the interior was always going to be kind of a group of maulers, starting with Zelinskis at center, Felter at guard. And these guys are just maulers. And so they deserve some credit. But Raymond prepares extremely carefully. He's the kind of running back who I've started to see now as he's matured, even in season. You start to see a player who continues to shuffle his feet and is patient with the ball, waits for a gap to open up. When the gap does open up, he's decisive in hitting that hole. And a lot like his predecessor, Kyle Monangai, once he's in that gap, he's going to fall forward, and it's going to be difficult to bring him down. That has resulted in, with Maryland, you saw it especially wearing down a team at the end of the game. That was Kyle Monangai's specialty. That's how Greg Schiano wants to play ball. And we knew he would be good. Campbell came in here as a transfer, got hurt early in the season. Deshaun Benjamin's another running back who changes up the pace here and there, but we knew the receivers would be good. We thought the quarterback would be good, but the revelation has been Antoine Raymond really coming into his own and being quite a potent weapon, conference wide, I'd say.
Yeah. What grade is he in?
He's a sophomore. I believe
Okay.
he's a sophomore. And I don't think it's a red shirt. I'm not positive, and not having all my stats in front of me. He's a young player.
Okay. Yeah, someone the Big Ten's need to be aware of then moving forward then.
Hmm.
um, let's talk about the defense specifically going into this game against Ohio State. Ohio State kind of found their running game last week against UCLA, had three guys average over 7 yards per carry against the Bruins, something that we hadn't seen all year. Where the running game has kind of been the afterthought in this offense for the Buckeyes, where Julian Sain is putting up Heisman-like numbers, of course, with throwing to Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate and Brandon Ennis and Max Clare and anybody else who wanted to catch a football. He was giving out passes like what's her name, giving out cars there on her show. But
Oprah.
Oprah, thank you. Yeah, I wanted to say Roseanne. I'm like, that is not
I wasn't
Roseanne. That is
sure where you were going. That's like, let me wait until he says the.
completely wrong person there. But you catch my drift. Julian Saints had a great year. And the running game was kind of the afterthought. The offensive line hadn't played that great. And then last week we saw Ohio State kind of turn it to a different gear. I'm guessing we're going to probably see more of the same from Ohio State in this game as they prep to get themselves ready for the big one in Ann Arbor in a week. That they're going to rely heavy on this running game and just lean on this Rutgers defensive line and try to just kind of speed the game up and get up to a lead and just run the football. What's Rutgers got in store to try to stop that when it seems like that seems to be their Achilles heel?
Doug Blue Eli was an interior defensive lineman that they lost preseason. There's some discussion that maybe the loss of him, a lot of things were going to run through him. He's going to be a focal point. But I think we knew, we had lost guys to the portal all along the defensive line, even in the linebacker or the outside linebacker position. Things are going to be tough for Rutgers. And the fact is that we're hobbled not only by injuries, but just we had never been that stout at any level of the defense. We thought maybe the safeties would be a focal point or Strong's point going into the season. Kaj Sanders, a four-star recruit out of St. Peter's Prep in Jersey City. He's a sophomore, got in the game as a freshman. We thought he was going to be a weapon. He's gotten a little better, but The issue, so we've got Weaver, who was a transfer from Ohio, not the Ohio State, but Ohio University. He was supposed to bring, and he was a leading pass rusher at the lower level, but he's I think he's just a step slow for this level, and it's no knock on him. He'll get into the backfield. He'll put pressure on the quarterback, but closing the deal has been a struggle with some of these athletes. O'Neal, a guy who hails from Staten Island, always had Rutgers on his mind. Transfers here as well. He's got a few sacks on the edge. But one thing that Rutgers has really, really struggled with, whether that's the quarterback, whether that's an option play, whether that's a running back, angles, angles and choosing the right angles in the run game, any level. I mean, pick a linebacker, pick a defensive lineman, pick a safety, pick a corner. They've struggled to have good angles and to thwart a run that is. They've been susceptible to big plays, game in and game out, and that's on the ground and through the air. Rutgers has in the past several weeks, about the last month, and this was kind of what I was saying about the defense getting some stops finally. They've been able to tamp down in general, right? So they're not getting necessarily, teams aren't getting 8 yards a carry or 20-yard passes all the time, but they're still allowing 4 to 5 to 7 big plays a game, which has really ended up increasing the opposition's average yardage per play and total yardage, and they've struggled with big plays. For a team like Ohio State, I just feel like to be honest, we've got a ton of injuries in the now. Cam Miller from Penn State, another transfer, he struggled mightily early on in the season as playing corner. He's been better. Guys have gotten better in season. Rob Smith, the defensive coordinator, who was brought back after having been let go several years ago to bring Joe Harasimiak in, which, if you're asking me, I think the turning point for Greg Schiano's second stint here really was when Rob Smith left and Joe Harasimiak came in and the defense stepped it up. Now you're back to where you were with Rob Smith. I don't know if the concepts are difficult. I don't know what it is, but guys have seemed to have a lot of mental mistakes, bad angles, missing assignments. What has happened subsequent to the Oregon game? It's not confirmed because Greg doesn't like to reveal anything, but he's got an iPad, he's got headphones on, he's talking a heck of a lot. I think he's taken a good amount of hands-on hands-on approach with the defense, maybe the whole thing, but I think he's more involved. And you've seen the defense improve, but they're still susceptible to the big play. They're still susceptible to the mental, blown coverage. And as guys have improved, there's still a lot of weaknesses all over that defense. So a team like Ohio State, quite frankly, I think, I hate to say this, but it is what it is. I mean, they could probably have their pick at what they'd like to do. I hope they'd be running the ball, grind that clock out so Rutgers could get out of that game. But I think it's going to be a tough go for Rutgers defense. And if Ohio State wants to try some things out, whether it's through the air or on the ground, Rutgers has plenty of weaknesses to try to exploit, Stanley.
This week is always a very interesting thing for Ohio State fans because Greg Schiano, before he went back to Rutgers, was the defensive coordinator here, and it's well documented that he and Ryan Day didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things, and so whenever Greg Schiano would come back to town or we would go to Piscataway, New Jersey, Greg always had something up his sleeve that seemed to irritate Ryan just a little bit.
Yes.
They had the famous, pointing, screaming match at each other on during the game one time, and of course they've both have said, hey, we're good friends. It was, I don't, I think that's a lot of that's just public perception as far as like, hey, we're good friends. I don't think they're calling and talking to each other every week or anything like that. What's kind of the perception from Rutgers fans about Ryan Day and this rivalry? And do you think Greg Schiano is going to have something special for his good buddy Ryan Day once again come Saturday?
I think when Rutgers was I think if we were coming in here already with a bowl game in hand and feeling better overall about the team, you'd 150% see something up Greg's sleeve to try to throw at Ohio State. You may see that now. I think the feeling inside the locker room, inside the program, and I'm not in there. I'm not a beat guy who's in the locker room a lot, but from talking to the beat guys and just getting looking at Greg's pressers and things, I think there's a level of like survival instinct with this program right now. I think they really wanted to get to Penn State, see what they can do, and they're looking to get to that postmortem if they don't make a bowl game and start fixing the roster, the coaching ranks, et cetera. That doesn't mean that they're not going to come out with something up their sleeve for Ryan. But I don't know. I wonder if it'll be the same type of game that we've seen in the past where Rutgers really tries to pull something out and do something. As far as Rutgers fans are concerned, I mean, I think it's interesting, right? There's fan bases in the Big Ten, as you well know, who travel well, who have a robust presence, and I think initially people might have seen Ohio State as one, big fan base, and do they love them? Do they hate them? I think over time, and you probably can concur with this. I mean, we've gotten in the stands with guys a lot and all that. Ohio State, their fans are pretty cool. They're well accomplished, et cetera. There's another school that has a little bit of more like kind of arrogance to go with the sports arrogance and gets under people's skin. But you guys got them coming up. But look, I think Ohio State, no one's under any illusions about the prowess of the program. I think, I don't know how it was in your guys' fan base, but when Day took over, I think there was some perception within Rutgers, and can Day get over the hump? And when he was kind of not quite doing it, or there was some, did he inherit, the best thing he could have inherited, and that's gone now, right? So I think there's a healthy respect. I think they know Greg and Ryan might not get along too great. I think fans feed off the energy of the combativeness and throwing some kind of wrench in the game just to kind of try to poke an eye in your big brother there. But I think this season, honestly, I think we're like, wow, it's tough. We got to go up against these guys right before this maybe limping Penn State and this weird, rough season for us. Let's just get out alive. And look, that's a fan thing. That's not Greg. That's not the guys in the locker room. They probably be angry if I even said that. But that's the
Right.
fans' mentality. Like, let's get out of there. Let's not get injured. Let's not get demoralized. And so that's kind of how the fan base is seeing it.
All right. Let's fast forward a week because I'm really intrigued by this. Um, there's not a whole lot of love lost between Penn State and Ohio State fans. And although Penn State looks at Ohio State as their big rival, we do not look at them as such. We do look at them as a rival, and a lot of the players look at Penn State. Former players look at Penn State as a big rivalry, second only to the team up north. Um, I know Rutgers looks at Penn State as kind of like, hey, this is a rivalry, and we want to win this game. And I gotta feel like, given what's happened in Happy Valley, almost like you smell blood in the water. Like this is a big moment here. I don't want you to, feel like I'm just blowing off this game against Ohio State this week, but I, I feel like Rutgers, man, they can pull that one out. It is a massive moment for this program, for Greg Schiano, for the fan base to go back to a bowl again. I think what third bowl game in a row it would be.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, this is a huge moment, man. Like, put that in perspective for me.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, I totally agree with you. As the story goes, Rutgers came into the Big Ten 2014. Penn State was vulnerable that year, and we played them close. They won 13-10. Gary Nova, unfortunately, threw 5 interceptions that game. Paul James, a talented running back, goes down and gets hurt that game. Rutgers gets its first Big Ten win officially since joining against Michigan later in the year. Um, Ever since, Penn State has obviously absolutely dominated. Now, football wise, for people who aren't in the immediate mid Atlantic region, obviously Penn State does not consider Rutgers a rival football wise because they beat us so many times. Rutgers, as you said, does in fact want to and continues to consider Penn State a rival. But culturally, socially, interpersonally within this region, no matter what Penn State says, you work with Penn State alumni. You live near them. Jersey people move to Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania people move to Jersey. Jersey people go to school in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania people go to school in Jersey. There's a rivalry there, and there's a pride thing where I don't think Penn State ever wants to lose to Rutgers, and Rutgers is absolutely seething at the mouth to beat Penn State. Rutgers is in a position this season. I said this right after the Oregon game. I have a lot of criticisms and a lot of kind of um, post-mortem things to do with Rutgers as it is this season. But I said, look at the schedule. You can beat Purdue. You can beat Maryland. And if you're able to pull that off, you get a limping Penn State team who thought they were going to go to the college football playoff, thought they might be national title contenders, who instead are not even going to make a bowl. You have them the last week of the season in Piscataway. And what you can do, if you can accomplish beating Purdue, beating Maryland, those two things have happened, and you can send yourself to a third consecutive bowl game by beating Penn State, the entire vibe and kind of karma around the season that was really trending downward. And Greg Schiano needs this more than anybody, because when you're going out there, you're marketing, you're trying to get new guys in from the transfer portal, you're trying to recruit, you're trying to raise money, you're trying to retain fans and season ticket holders. The only way to keep up trajectory and to keep up momentum is to leave a better taste in people's mouth from the season. And the optimal way, and really the only way I think at this point to do that, would be to beat Penn State at home, send yourself to a third bowl. And if you could win that bowl, I think you'd be in a much better place than a lot of Rutgers fans thought just a few weeks ago. Now, I think it's a lot's going to depend, because Penn State clearly on paper has more talent than Rutgers. It's just a fact. But if Penn State comes into Piscataway kind of like, hey, some guys are checked out, they're not going to a bowl game, the season's pretty much lost, they're going to try a little bit, but Rutgers is just, is seething, hair on fire. Rutgers can win that game and it'd be huge. If Penn State comes in like, well, the one thing we do have is Jersey, it's our backyard. We own Rutgers, we own Jersey, we own the whole region, and the one thing we can do is put them back under their rock, then it's going to be a different story. But I do think, and I will say, and this is why a lot of Rutgers fans are kind of like, let's just get past Ohio State, get past, don't get hurt, because we just want this to happen. That tailgate would have been miserable if we hadn't beaten Maryland and Purdue. We did. It's a 3:30 kickoff now. The tailgate's getting ready. We're excited. We think it could change the feeling and memory around this season in a huge way. And look, I want to put it out there right now to every Big Ten fan who listens. There is a concerted effort amongst the enlightened, mature, decent human beings in the Rutgers fan base that if you beat a Penn State team like this, you wave, you turn around, you walk out of that stadium. If anybody jumps over that, and you'd be surprised at some of the conversations in the student community about jumping over that, do not set foot on that field. It's embarrassing. But we do want to win that game. We know where Penn State is, but it would help us just to win that
I love it, man. This is always one of my highlights of the season, getting to talk to my boy Larry K. Tell everybody about Night Watch, where they can find you, my friend.
Brother, head over to Night Watch. Just type in Night Watch Larry K. Go over there and check me out. I cover basketball too. Kind of an interesting little start to the basketball season. So I haven't been as all up in the coverage, but I will be soon. And I obviously cover football. I'm a fun listen for any Big Ten fans want some insight on Rutgers and New Jersey. And brother, it's always an absolute pleasure to come and sit and talk with you. It elevates my mood, bro, on a Monday. So I appreciate you.
Enjoy the game Saturday and go Rutgers in a week, man. Take down them Nittany Lions. Have
Yes,
yourself a
sir.
day, brother. Take care, man.
Later, brother.
We have new merch just in time for the most wonderful time of the year. Get your OHIO podcast t-shirts, hoodies, and hats, and more thanks to our partnership with King Kong Bart and his printing company in Bucyrus, Ohio. That's right. You can now rest assured that when you purchase merchandise from the OHIO podcast, it is being printed and shipped right here from the Buckeye State. And even better than that, you can financially support your favorite hosts. For instance, if you want to support Mika, you can do so by purchasing her Illuminati merch. 50% of all profits will be shared with each host upon payment. Get your new OHIO pod merch by clicking on the link below this video, the link provided on our YouTube channel, or by visiting our website at theohiopodcast.com. Just click on the store link and it'll take you straight to our new online store. So what are you waiting on? Help support your favorite Ohio State podcast, your favorite hosts, and share your Buckeye pride all year round. OH! All right, and thank you to Larry K from the Night Watch. Appreciate you, my man. Appreciate your support in covering Rutgers for us over at the College Huddle and for joining us. Always one of my favorite people to talk to when we do these previews. All right, Chris, having heard Larry, having broken down the stats, the history, the current tale of the tape, looking at the players a little bit, it's time to give a prediction. Vegas has this thing at 33.5 points. Not feeling good about the over right here.
No,
I'm going to go ahead and say Ohio State wins this game 35-17.
we are very close. We are very, very close because I have this game at 38-14.
I like your score a little better. I just think this is going to be an ugly game. I think both teams are going to give a good effort in the first half, and it's going to be obvious that Ohio State's better, and they're going to turn this thing over late in the third quarter to the backups, and it's going to be let's just get out of here healthy and get ready for next week for both these teams. Because Rutgers is looking ahead to Penn State, obviously, and Ohio State's looking ahead to Michigan, obviously. And so it's going to be an ugly game, and I don't think we get that spread. So, and neither do you. So we're both
Yeah,
kind of feeling like this is just it just kind of to me feels like it's kind of like senior day, a little bit of distraction, looking ahead. Really, the season starts next week. Let's be honest. From next week on, you're going to play nothing but ranked opponents for the rest of the season. However long you play, it's going to be ranked opponents.
yeah, and Eric, this is again something that we have heard SEC ranting about because they're overranked. Overranked teams have all played more ranked opponents. But here's the thing: I don't worry about it. I'm not worried about it one bit because Ohio State is in a position to do what they did last year, and that's just run through ranked opponents like a buzz saw when it counts. Um, and I love the fact that we're getting these warm up games. One great thing too is going back to the game. We don't have to worry about weather being a factor as of right now. 52 and sunny is the weather report for this Saturday.
You can't ask for anything better in November.
Late November at that, you
Yeah.
know. Um, so I think Ohio State is going to be in a good position to win this game handily. Have a lot of guys see action who haven't or have seen limited action, and have our offense or our big stars really rested up. So, you know, let people say what they will about how close it was with Rutgers. And I don't consider 38-14 close, but if you listen to the idiots on social media, they're going to think that's close.
Yeah.
Um, Even though they've got teams out there losing, nearly losing with as 30-point favorites at home. Anyhow, no, I'm just looking forward to a good game where we go in, we play a lot of guys, and we come out healthy, and we're focused for the following week.
All right, guys, there you have it. Let us know what your score prediction is down in the comment section below. Let us know how you think this game is gonna go. Do you kind of feel like we are that this might be a little bit of a ugly look ahead game, distractive game with
It
senior
easily
day?
could be.
Let us know what you think down in the comment section below. Chris, we only got a few more of these left, man. That was number 11.
Sounds like we got about 5, 6 to go.
Well, yeah, at least three. Can we say two? At the least
5 or
two.
bust.
I mean, we lose next week. There is no Big Ten championship game, so
Lose
gotta
next week.
win it.
Somebody's going to run Ryan Day out of town. And it might be Ryan Day.
Oh, stop it! Stop it! We just need to win that game. It's just everything's pointing to next week in Ann Arbor. It has been since the entire off season, ever since we won the national championship. Even I've been saying there's still one monkey left on his back. I went into this year saying 10-2. If this team goes 10-2 and they beat Michigan and they get back to the CFP, they've accomplished everything I could want them to accomplish this season. And it's from there on, it's icing on the cake. I had no idea that they were going to basically run the season at that point. They've been
Man, I
number
feel like
one
somebody
since
tried to
week
tell you
2.
this
They've been number one in college football since
since
week
week 2.
2, since they beat Texas in week 1. And they haven't looked back. And every game since then has been easy. They've not been in a close game yet.
Which is a little concerning.
It is a little concerning, but are they just that dang good?
I think they very well may be.
We're going to find out starting next week. We're going to find out the answer to those questions. But they got to get through this week first. One more small hurdle. Hopefully the team gets healthy. Hopefully the team jumps out to a big lead early. And it's just a great fun day for senior day. And we get to send the seniors off with a victory at home. They ring the victory bell one more time there in the shoe. And then, hopefully only one more time. I don't want to host a home game. That means things didn't go well at the end of the season. But
If we're hosting a home game, that means that
something went wrong.
And there's only one place it could have.
Yeah. So I hope this is the last home game of the season because I want to win the Big Ten championship. I want to go back to Indy. I want to play Kurt Signetti and that Hoosier team there in Lucas Oil. I think that would be
because they need to be humbled.
That would be an absolute fantastic day of football for Ohio State, for Indiana, and for all of college football. 1 versus 2 in the Big Ten championship game would be fantastic. But we got to get through Rutgers first, and then we have the game, and we have Hate Week.
But I got to ask you.
Yeah.
Ohio State and Indiana play in the Big Ten title game. It's a close game no matter which team wins. They're both still getting buys the first week, right?
I think so.
I agree.
Yeah, I think so. I also think no matter what happens in the SEC game, I think it's very possible both those teams get buys too.
I agree as well, as long as it's close.
Yep.
If it's a blowout on either of those games, you could see somebody else slide in.
Texas Tech, maybe.
Maybe.
So, yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun next couple weeks, man. Make sure you're tuned in. You're locked in here at the OHL podcast. If you're not following us over on Patreon, what are you doing, man? Links below. Big news coming out on Patreon. By the time this video drops, you'll have heard it already. Buck Vader has challenged Buckeye Nation to 200 paying members over at Patreon. If we get 200 paying members, he promises to drop the biggest piece of Buckeye news he's ever dropped in his life. That means he's got something, Chris.
I love the fact that he won't even tell us what it is.
No, he won't.
He's making us work for it, Eric.
Yep. So we need 200 paying members. It only costs $5 a month. We're gonna have specials. We got a Christmas special coming on Patreon. We've got Cyber Monday happening over on our merch. Going to be happening on our merch store. That link is below as well. Lots of stuff happening here at the OHL podcast. Make sure you're tuned in, locked into everything we're doing here, folks. Till next time, be kind to one another. I owe someone's OH. And Carmen Ohio with all your heart. Chris, you know what to do. OH.
I owe.
Go Bucks. Beat the Scarlet Knights.